sound of shattering glass echoed through the Rowan estate, startling everyone in the grand hallway. Eli's small, trembling hands were pressed to his ears, though he couldn't have heard the crash. Marcus Rowan's heart lurched as he sprinted toward the source, panic twisting his chest. Eli, are you hurt? His voice thundered across the marble floors, but Eli just stared at him with wide, silent eyes, his tiny body shaking. The boy had never heard a thing in his life, yet there was something in that moment, a flicker of comprehension in his gaze, that made Marcus freeze. Something had changed. Something had happened. Eli, can you? Marcus's words faltered, and the question hung heavy in the air. The boy's lips quivered as if forming a word for the first time. The room held its breath.
Can you?
Then it came, a small, trembling sound that cut through 10 years of impossible quiet.
Can you?
Duh? Marcus fell to his knees, hands hovering over Eli as tears pricked his eyes.
Dad.
The word, so fragile, so miraculous, sank deep into his chest. He couldn't believe it. Not after everything. Not after millions spent, specialists flown in from across the globe, experimental procedures, endless consultations. All those experts, all those years, all those dollars, and none had seen what was right in front of them. He pulled the boy close, feeling the small weight of his son for the first time in a way that mattered. Not just physically, but emotionally, tangibly, as if sound itself had given substance to their bond. Eli, my boy, you can hear me? The words trembled out, choked with years of despair, hope, and disbelief. Eli nodded slightly, his eyes shimmering with a mix of fear, awe, and joy. Marcus pressed his forehead to Eli's, laughing and crying at the same time. The sound of his own voice, once taken for granted, now felt like a miracle in the quiet mansion. It had all begun 10 years ago, in the sterile glow of the hospital room. Elena Rowan had gone into labor, and Marcus had waited outside, a storm of hope and anxiety inside him. When the cries came, he hadn't yet realized the tragedy that would follow. Elena didn't survive the childbirth, and Eli, his son, had been born without the ability to hear.
Oh,
At
please,
first,
this can't be happening.
Marcus clung to the hope that specialists would find a way, that modern medicine could fill the silence. But the years passed, each consultation ending with the same cold verdict: congenital deafness, irreversible. Accept it, they said. Move on, they said. But Marcus couldn't. Every night, he lay awake staring at his son sleeping in the other room, listening to the emptiness, feeling it pressing against him. Every day, he tried something new: ear devices, experimental therapies, costly surgeries, therapies with phonics specialists, even experimental sound stimulation equipment imported from abroad. Nothing worked. Nothing had changed. Each failure piled upon the last, leaving him hollowed, desperate, and angry. Yet the love for his son never faltered. He could not abandon the hope that a miracle might exist. And then Amara Cole arrived, a young maid, freshly hired, small in stature but unusually attentive, observing the subtle rhythms of life at Rowan Estate. She was quiet, often unnoticed, yet she had a sharp eye and an intuition that had saved her in her own hard life. Her past was heavy: grandmother's bills, personal struggles, a family barely surviving on scraps, but her spirit was unbroken. She noticed Eli. Not just the boy himself, but the little details no one else saw. The way he pressed his tiny fingers against his ears, the tension in his shoulders, the fleeting grimace when something seemed to irritate him. To the staff, he was a silent child. To Amara, he was a boy screaming in a world no one could hear. Mrs. Keene, the housekeeper, had warned her immediately. "Do not get involved," she said sharply. "Your duty is the estate, not the boy. Leave him to the professionals." But Amara could not. She watched him during breakfast, during playtime in the garden, when he wandered near the fountain, alone and isolated. Her heart ached, and slowly, carefully, she began to form a silent language with him, a series of gestures, expressions, and eye contact that allowed him to communicate, even in the absence of sound.
I'm scared.
Eli responded.
I know, sweetie,
He
I'm
trusted
here with
her
you.
in a way he hadn't trusted anyone else. And with trust came glimpses of understanding, moments where he looked at her as if begging her to see what others couldn't. One afternoon, as Marcus paced the sunlit study, arguing silently with himself over whether he'd done enough, Amara followed Eli into the nursery. The boy was crouched by the window, rubbing his ear against the sill.
But it hurts.
Her pulse quickened. Something was wrong. It wasn't just the deafness, there was pain. Subtle, small, but real.
What's wrong, baby?
She
Ear
knelt
hurts
beside
so
him.
much.
Eli, she murmured,
Let me see.
placing her hand gently over his. The boy looked up at her, eyes wide, pupils dilated with a mixture of trust and helplessness. Amara had never performed any medical procedures in her life. She wasn't trained. She didn't even know the rules of the human ear beyond what her cousin had once endured years ago. But she had instincts, and instincts screamed that something was hiding in there, something no one else had seen. Over the next several days, Amara observed him relentlessly. She watched his reactions to light touches, to vibrations in the floor, to subtle changes in air pressure. She asked him to show her what hurt, and over time, a pattern emerged. Each day, she learned a little more of his world, a world silent but full of clues. She practiced patience, speaking softly, showing him gestures. Marcus noticed the small changes, more alertness, sharper expressions, but attributed them to simple play. He didn't know the truth. It was one evening, when Eli had been particularly quiet, his small body curled in a corner, that Amara saw it. His expression twisted in pain, eyes pleading, hand trembling near the ear canal. She hesitated, 1,000 warnings flashing in her mind. Mrs. Keene's words. Marcus's possible fury. The impossibility of her task. But the boy's suffering outweighed her fear. Slowly, carefully, she retrieved sterilized tweezers she had prepared, her hands shaking. She whispered to him, wordlessly asking for permission, and he nodded slightly. Trust. He trusted her. And that trust was all the permission she needed. She leaned close, her eyes scanning the canal, and saw it, a dark, stubborn mass lodged deep inside. Her breath caught. Could it be that simple? Could it be this all along? Her mind raced. Years of doctors, millions spent, endless failed consultations, and none had seen this. The sheer injustice fueled her courage. She carefully, deliberately, worked to remove the obstruction, her hands steady despite the adrenaline flooding her veins. Every second felt like an eternity. Every small movement, a potential disaster. Eli whimpered quietly, a soundless signal of fear. Amara whispered reassurances, soft gestures, a presence that somehow filled the void of silence. Then it happened. The mass came free. For the first time in 10 years, Eli's world shifted. The faintest sound reached him, the ticking of a grandfather clock in the study, a whisper of air through the curtains, the soft creak of the floor beneath him. He gasped audibly, eyes wide, disbelief written across his small face. His lips trembled, and then, breaking the barrier of silence that had held him captive, he spoke a word. One word. Dad. Marcus, standing just outside the nursery, felt it before he comprehended. His knees buckled. His breath caught. His son had spoken. His son could hear. Before we continue to see what happens next, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment below telling us what you think Amara should do next, and give this video a like if you love stories about courage, miracles, and the power of compassion.